There was a war in 1948, a very long war and very cruel war, in which Israel gained 78% of the country of Palestine as it existed before. There was another war in 1967 in which Israel conquered the rest of Palestine. And the moment this war was finished and we saw these huge territories which we had conquered, there was a natural desire by some people to annex it to Israel. And after a few weeks and a few months passed by, and we suddenly saw there's no pressure at all on Israel to give back these territories, then slowly some people said, why not? Why shouldn't we get there and put our settlements there? The idea was to annex these territories. Wherever there is a settlement, the idea is to annex. The obstacle is that there is the Palestinian people living there. And then the question arises, how do you annex all these territories with 2.5 million or 3 million Arabs, Palestinians in them? And there are some people who say, let's not take these 2.5 million Palestinians and push them out of Palestine, as we did to half the Palestinian people in 1948. So these are the settlers. These are the extreme settlers. And the most extreme are in Hebron.
حط الشبك هذا الجيش الإسرائيلي عشان المستوطنين بقعدوا بيجيبوا حجار برموها علينا إحنا على الناس اللي بتعدي من الشارع، فعشان هيك تركبوا كحماية لنا. فهالقيت يعني هم عشان الحجار ما بتنزلش علينا صاروا يكبوا مي علينا ويكبوا الأشياء الوسخة علينا اللي بتنزل من الشبك، اللي بتقدر تعدي من الشبك.
مية وسخة تبعت الغسيل، مية وسخة بيحطوا فيها مواد كيماوية بيرموها على الناس. الجيش بياكل في صحون، بيبعتوا له القيادة تبعتهم في صحون، بشخ في قلبهم وبرميهم على الناس. شو بدنا نقول؟ يعني إذا بدك نحكي بنحكي جرايد. بنحكي جرايد.
Hebron is probably the only city in the West Bank and Gaza and the occupied Palestinian territory to have settlements that are implanted at the heart of the city. And really the result of that is the slow death of the Palestinian population center for the benefit of the expansion of these settlements. You can see this as a trend since 2000, since the beginning of the recent Intifada, with the closures of all entry points into the old city. What we have since 2000 is closed areas where no Palestinian vehicle movement is allowed, another area where Palestinians are not allowed to go through, and no presence of Palestinians is allowed. And then you have closed shops.
You can't pass freely. You can't go freely to your hospital, to your home. You can't go freely to another village, to another city. You can't go to your university. More and more Palestinians are leaving. They're not allowed to open their shops. They're not allowed to access their homes. Even inhabitants are searched whenever they go in and out. They are doing everything possible to pressure people, to make them leave the old city so that settlers can take control.
أنا 5 متر من هون البيت تبعي. هلا بلف من فوق يعني حوالي نص كيلو باجي منشان أعدي. فلكن هون 5 متر. يعني بعد السد هذا أنا 5 متر بيتي. لما أنا بدي أسكر هذا ليش سكرته؟ بقول لك وضع أمني، شو وضع الأمني؟ شو مسويين؟ شو فيه؟ بقول لك وضع أمني. هاي سكروا 8 متر 6 متر. يعني هذا سوبر ماركت كان، هذا استوديو تصوير، هذا بقالة، كله محلات كانت فاتحة هون وحياة عايشة الناس فيها. من شان بقول لك 400 واحد ساكنين هون سكروا بلد بحالها.
Living here is really coming back to the Jewish roots. It's the first Jewish city. We know that Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Rebecca and Jacob and Leah are buried here, and according to Jewish tradition, even Adam and Eve are buried here. So it's bringing up a Jewish family in the place of the Jewish roots, in the basis of the Jewish people.
In any other country in the world, they would be defined as fascists, if not worse. There are a bunch of 500 or so people whose aim in life is to drive out 160,000 Palestinians whom they consider as strangers. These people who have come 30 or 40 or 50 years ago from Europe consider the inhabitants of Hebron, who've been there for 5,000 years, as strangers.
I believe it's important for everyone to come and see what's going on here and not just have their impression from the news, because the news is very slanted. And when people come, they show that this is a place where people can walk around and visit and feel normal in, and it's not what they see on the news, where they think it's just a military zone. I think, a lot of soldiers come here. In the beginning, they think, this is like an army base, and then they realize that this is not an army base. This is a place where Jewish people live.
I remember in the year 2000, 2001, and 2002 and 3, the whole 30,000 inhabitants of the old city of Hebron were under curfew, 200 days in the year. That lasted